千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu is trying to say that a central goal in the Tao is to reclaim the goodness of your own childlike state of mind. And when we say childlike, it's important to also recognize that we don't mean childish. So let's talk about the four characters here. Those who are truly virtuous can be compared to infants, and there's a difference between childlike and childish. So when I say childlike, just to point out, nobody starts out, nobody is born a villain. I want to point out that hate and violence are learned behavior. Nobody starts out that way. So there's an inherent goodness in all people, and it manifests when they were just babies. Now, there's a negative part to it too. We know that childish would have that negative connotation. So I want to be very certain to highlight the difference between the two. Lao Tzu is definitely talking about the positive aspects of that childlike state of mind. When we say childish, the negative connotation is that a child who is ignorant, who doesn't know that much, who doesn't know anything, that's a negative connotation. A child that, we talk about the terrible twos, the temper tantrum, the unreasonable, crying, I gotta get my own way, the lack of maturity. So immature, also a negative connotation. Selfish, before kids have learned to share, they may be very self-centric, sulking, unhappy, perhaps frustrated, angry, etc. These can all be negative aspects of being childish. So when Lao Tzu is talking about childlike, he's talking about the positive aspects of that state. To be curious. So not knowing something, that's okay. To the childlike state of mind, there's a lot of curiosity because everything is interesting. Wow, what is that? What's that all about? I gotta find out more. Curious. There's also a pure joy. A joy in learning about the new things, a joy in that every day is a fun adventure. So you probably vaguely recall that this is how it once was. This is how it used to be when you were very little. And when you were very little, or when you observe very young children, you can definitely note that they live in the moment. So little kids don't do much dwelling on the past to be regretful about something, to question themselves. I should have done this. Why did I not do that? To second guess themselves. Nor do very young children spend a whole lot of time thinking about being anxious over the future. What is tomorrow going to bring? How am I going to be able to do X, Y, Z? No. Small children, they tend to just live in the moment, here and now, present moment awareness. And there's a very appealing simplicity to it all. There's not a whole lot to it. Life is just life. There's not all the complexity brought about by the material world. You don't feel any pressure to pursue fame and fortune as a small child. You don't feel a need to hold a grudge against anyone. You don't feel anxious about what people think. And there's a sense of wonder about life in general, about the undiscovered fun things that you know you're going to explore and uncover. Sometimes you smile as a little child for no particular reason, only because it's good to be alive. So the right-hand side are associated with the state of being virtuous, the state of having cultivated the Tao. That's what Lao Tzu was talking about. So I mentioned that this is a very important theme. It is something that's reiterated multiple times in the Tao Te Ching. So I want to take a moment to take you through the other reiterations of the same theme, the childlike state of mind. Recurring references in the Tao Te Ching. We're on chapter 55 now, but many chapters ago, back in chapter 10, we saw the following. In concentrating the energy and reaching relaxation, can one be like an infant? Question mark. In the original, we have in line 3, in the second character, that's the character for qi, the qi energy, which also means breath, breathing. Bring oxygen to nourish every part of the body, that's qi. Moving that energy from one part of the body to another, that's qi. And the first character there is just to concentrate the movement of that energy. So then in line 4, the middle 2 characters, that's the infants there. So overall, what Lao Tzu is trying to do with chapter 10 is that he is using the naturally soft and relaxed states of the infant as a powerful reminder. So the idea is simple. If you recall to mind the softness and relaxation of the infant, then you too can regain that same softness and relaxation, and that is the pathway for you to be able to concentrate the qi energy. So the importance of that cannot be stressed enough. It's part of the practice of Tai Chi and Qigong and also meditation. And just generally a good idea to approach life with softness and relaxation. So this is not the only iteration, only reference about the baby. There's more. Moving ahead a little bit in chapter 20, we see the following. I alone am quiet and uninvolved, like an infant, not yet smiling. So in chapter 20, what Lao Tzu writes about is that he compares himself to other people. Other people are this way, I am this way. Other people are so and so, I am completely unlike them. So in this particular case, what he's saying is that everybody out there is noisy, they're all active, they're all excited, but I am not like them. I am more like the quiet infant. And he's pointing to the very, very original state of the infant, even before the infant has much of an idea about the world. The infant is simply resting, not even smiling. So that's just a way to point to that original state of being that we all had. It's an emphasis on the purity of that original state without all the complexity. Pure simplicity without any sense of separation, like you versus me, I'm better than you. No sense of judgment, like this is good, that is bad, everything just is. Very, very original state. And there's one more reference to the infant. Moving ahead a little bit to chapter 28, here's what we see. The eternal virtue does not depart, return to the state of the infant. This reference has a lot of similarities to our current reference in 55. It's basically depicting Tao cultivation as a returning process. It is saying that the eternal virtue, the virtue of being the infant, it's there. It's always there. You had it before. You actually still have it. It's just that it may be obscured by the material world. But it's still around. It still exists. It's deep within. So Tao cultivation is all about going back to that which you've always had. So just by listing these references from different parts of the Tao Te Ching, we begin to get a sense for the importance of the infant, quote unquote, the infant, to Tao sages in general. And remember, it's not about, hey, the baby is cute, love the baby. It's about how the baby can be used as a powerful symbol for original plainness, original purity. So it is such a deeply embedded concept, so integrated in the Tao that it shows up all over Chinese culture in schools of thought that people may not associate with Tao philosophy. So there's an expression that I want to share with everyone. That is it's a very common expression in modern times. The heart of the infant, 赤子之心, is what it shows there in Chinese. And the 4 characters are simple. The first 2 characters is the newborn infant. Those are the exact same 2 characters as what we have in 55. The third character there, that's the character for the apostrophe S. The last character is the character for heart, which can also mean the mind. So the reference to the hearts of the infant comes from Mencius, Mengzi. So Mengzi is a sage in the Confucian tradition. And like I keep saying, what people don't realize is that Confucian scholars, Confucian sages, they all shouted out as students of the Tao. The distinction of them being Confucian is really a later day invention. A distinction that at the time when they were studying the Tao, they only saw themselves as Tao philosophers. So this is another way to see the Confucian tradition is, in fact, not so different from the Tao tradition. So Mengzi, this Confucian sage, he wrote the following: 大人者，不失其赤子之心者也. So this is a phrase from the Mencius classic that has become a must-learn in Chinese education, in classical education. Let me explain what this sentence means. First of all, there's a recurring character here, 者, here in the third character position, and also next to last, they're the same character. And it's the character for he who is, they who are, the one who, etc. And the first 2 characters, 大人. So at first glance, it seems to say big person, but what it really means is the great person. So the great person is the subject of Minsh's comments. And what Minsh says is that the great person, and then we get two characters here that basically say they don't lose, they do not lose, they have not lost. Then we see the familiar two characters for the infants, and then the heart or the mind. The very last character here is a sentence ending character similar to the period. We put all of that together and we can come up with a good translation, actually a better translation than what's being passed off as a formal translation. The best translation for this line is the following. The great person is the one who has not lost the heart of the infant. Let me talk about what that means. The great person is the one who still has what we all possess originally: pure goodness, natural innocence, and intrinsic happiness. That is the heart of the infant. So if we can grow into adulthood with all the challenges of the material world, with all the things that normally would make you cynical, doubting about the world, perhaps lose faith in humanity. Hey, that happens. But if through all that, you can still retain the original states that you had, the states of goodness, innocence, and happiness, then that is what makes you great. Indeed, this whole idea is at the heart of Tao cultivation, because Tao cultivation helps us uncover and rediscover the heart of the infant within ourselves. Remember, you still have it. It's still there. It's just obscured. Therefore, in this chapter, we say that those who hold an abundance of virtues are the ones who can be compared to the infant. In other words, the more virtuous we are, the more we hold virtues, the greater virtues that we practice, immerse within, and become one with, the closer we get to that cherished state of the infant, the goodness, the happiness, all that. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us all travel safely so we can meet again. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us all travel safely so we can meet again. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.